a joyous occasion that we can actually gather again together. At this time, I'm going to invite Reverend Chuck Behrens, who will be presiding over the funeral, to come forward. And out of respect for him and Charlene's memory, please silence all your cell phones at this time. Thank you all so much for being here.
Sorry we have to do it like this.
I'm
so sorry. But there's a woman we're celebrating today.
She's fantastic, so yeah.
Give yourself some credit for that.
No, she gets all the credit. Yes, I was lucky.
I appreciate it.
That's good.
Ladies and gentlemen, just like Veronica, thank you for just being here. Hey, this past year, I mean, the world has told us a lot of bad things. It kind of still is. Which is why I hope you not only hear this really good thing, but that you actually notice this great thing. The greatest force in and out of this world, folks, it's right here in this room. It certainly is the love that you have for Char, the love you've all experienced, known from her. And now as family and friends, the love and the support that you have for one another. Listen, anytime we come together to remember, it's never long enough. But you didn't come to begin, only to continue this celebration of Charlene in your life for the rest of your life. And I'm sure, certainly over these past few months, we have a better sense of what family and friends are all about, and hopefully even now, a better awareness of God's presence with us. Folks, in order to have that happen, I'm going to ask as we begin the celebration of Char that we do a very powerful and a very purposeful thing, just for a moment. I'm going to invite you to bow your heads, to close your eyes. Collect your thoughts, your memories, but most of all, your love. Let's begin the celebration of her life with just a really short prayer. Let us pray. Dear God, we call you by many different names, but one of them actually happens to be our Father. It makes all of us your children. And as your child, well, Char, she needs no introduction to you. You not only have created her, even now, you recreated her in such a way that none of us will ever fully understand or even imagine. So for each of us, let us know you are closer than our next breath, even more real than the words of this prayer. And for Char, we give you thanks for everything you've done, certainly for what you do, but absolutely even at this very moment, for everything that you promise. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen. You know, folks, I feel like I have to apologize to you. Literally just moments ago, you were all doing these three things together at the same time, and you probably didn't even recognize it. The greatest thing about these three things are so simple, but they're even more significant. They're what brought us here, to remember, as if there's somehow some way you can even think about forgetting. But folks, we're also here to honor and to celebrate a woman who's not just touched your life. I mean, even now, Charlene's had a way of grabbing hold of all of you in such a way you literally can't be anywhere else except right here and right now at this moment. And I believe there's all kinds of great ways to celebrate her life. Probably the most informal is the one that's going to be the most fun. That's just downstairs after we're done with this little celebration. But here, just to hear some of those things that have made Charlene Char to each of you, I know that there's some folks that are going to be sharing with us right now. And so at this particular time, I'm going to open this up to them because I think it will help all of us, not just remember, that's the easy part, but also honor and celebrate Charlene in our own way too. I think there's been somewhat of an order, and I'm just going to turn this over to you folks right now.
Tallest one first.
Oh, tallest one first. Absolutely, I like that. Thank you, sir. Take your time.
I will. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to say. I given a lot of speeches before, and I always plan out every word, every pause and all that. But when trying to think of something to say about my mom, it was like creating the final thought or final ending, and it made me emotional. And I am notoriously not good at sharing the emotions and the feelings and the love and all of that. But I did know I want to talk about her last couple of years in the nursing home, which is, you know, a couple of us gotten to visit with her and spend time with her. But most of you didn't get to see those years of my mom. And so I wanted to share about them, and I was blessed to be able to spend a tremendous amount of time with her, especially once she was unable to eat. I was there a lot for her lunches and her dinners, helping to feed her. Although somehow, despite not being able to feed herself, by the time I would get there, she had already eaten her dessert by herself. So she never struggled to do that. But you know, I see Payton up here and Kaelyn and Evan, and I think about that their memories of my mom will probably just be the last couple of years of her life in the nursing home and FaceTiming with her. And that can, at first you might think that that's kind of a sad thought, but I don't think it is. So my mom's last couple of years in the nursing home, she spent dancing a lot. They would play music on the TV, and she would dance to it whether she didn't. If it was like modern rap music, she was dancing to it. If it was oldies, she would sing along. She might not know who we were at that time, but she'd still remember, you know, all the words to a Sam Cooke song or Neil Diamond. And she would just do her famous shimmy all the time, on demand, even when there wasn't music playing. There was some song going on, and she'd just be dancing and shimmying. So she spent a lot of her time dancing and shimmying and smiling and laughing. And I think when little Payton here grows up and thinks back to her grandma, she's gonna think of her grandma as this smiling person, this person who always danced all the time. And I think those are some pretty good memories to have. And for me, with my mom, she went in there and she went in walking, and shortly after getting there, she was in a wheelchair and couldn't walk anymore. Slowly, she forgot who people were. There were moments where she kind of recognized us or knew that she should know us, type of thing. But those memories faded, and she lost those. She kind of lost her ability to think, because the moment she'd have a thought, dementia would take the thought away. She lost the ability to do all the simple things for herself. You know, even little things like if her glasses got fogged up, she couldn't clean them, and little food, and she couldn't wipe. So, she was dependent on the wonderful staff that was taking care of her. But while dementia took her memories and took her body, it never took her loving spirit. Never even touched it for a moment. She spent the last couple of years of her life making sure everybody around her and anybody that came within an earshot of her knew that they were loved. And so I think anybody that walked into that facility heard, "I love you, honey." Whether it was my dad coming to visit, or my sisters, relatives of other patients, or the other patients. Although if there was one or two people that were getting on her nerves, the loving spirit did go away for a moment, and she would, say, "Damn it, will you shut up?" And then immediately be like, "Hey, I love you, honey." So she never lost that Irish fight in her. That would come out. That was still fun to see. Or whether it was, Jimmy the nurse and Manny the cook. Sounds like a sitcom, but those were their real names. She was telling them that she loves them. So at the time when she was in her weakest state, where she was suffering the most, she still was giving to others, and she was still making sure everybody knew that they were loved, appreciated, and valued. And I think that speaks a lot to her character. And I don't think there's anything more beautiful than that, with her being at her weakest moment, but still making sure to tell everybody that she loved them. So I think when little Payton grows up and she thinks back to her grandma, and when I think back to my mom, I know a lot of you will have the different moments you think back to. Denny and Joanne, and Linda and Rick, you might think back to some times when she was younger. Dad, you might think back to when you were dating her. She said yes to that first date. Way to go, Dad. But I'll think back to her nursing home times, and I think those are good memories, because she was just spreading and sharing love with everybody. And that was my mom. Dementia just couldn't take away her loving spirit, and that's a beautiful thing. That's what I have to say. I just destroyed the mic.
No,
There you
you're
go.
good. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Next tallest.
And now the next tallest, and my mom's second favorite twin.
My twin brother.
Hey, so you gotta go with it. You did.
I'm gonna read a poem, but I'm gonna give some background on why I chose the poem to read about my mom. So, my mom was a great role model, and she was the first female class president. She helped run the officers club. She ran a lot of committees, so she was a great, strong female role model for all the girls that she had. But despite all of those things that she did well, she always said her greatest legacy was her family. And she wrote a letter before she couldn't write anymore and made sure everybody knew that her 6 kids were her pride and joy. And she was our biggest cheerleader. She'd show up literally with cowbells to whatever athletic event you were doing, so you knew she was there. Pictures on sticks. She would sneak little notes into our bags, any little way just to show support. So if you're having a rough day, you open up your lunchbox, there's a note from mom. Or you have an away track meet, there's somehow a note folded into your uniform, and you knew she was there for you. She'd have this uncanny ability to rock a screaming sick grandchild for hours. I remember Dylan had hand, foot, and mouth, and Greg and I were just done with the week of screaming, and she would just sit there and hum and rock him. And I looked at her with such admiration on how she could do that, and it was just something I wanted to take away as a new mom myself. So she gave up, as Kevin said, she gave up a lot of herself so we could succeed. In some ways, she gave up all of herself so we could succeed. She was giving through her last days, somehow still concerned that all the babies in the baby house made it back safely. She said that repeatedly in the nursing home. Even on her last days, she was concerned about her babies with the nurses. She taught us to love each other and to always be kind. She wanted everybody to give a compliment to a stranger every day, because she said you never knew if that would be the thing that would turn around their day or their life if they were having a rough moment. So I think this poem sums up what she would all want us to take away from her story of giving love and loving each other. So let's start. It's called Give Me Away. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the streets beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live on in your eyes and not on your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do, so when all that's left of me is love, give me away.
I'm the next tallest, but I'm the youngest. So otherwise known as Chrissy the Caboose. But mom and only mom would call me Chris. My letter to mom. Dear mom, I thought a lot about what to share today at your celebration of life. It was soon after Audrey and Collin were born that we started losing you slowly over time. But it seems so quickly now. There's so much I wish I could have shared with you. One day you knew who I was, the next you didn't. We still shared many laughs, cries, and special times together over the last few years. You often shared your feelings in letters, so I thought a letter to you would be fitting today and give a glimpse of the mother you were. I wish you had more time with us to be in my children's lives. Brooklyn has your kind heart and love of crafts. She's got stuff spread all over the dining room table and ping pong table, just like you used to, for her creations. Collin has a contagious laugh just like you. He has your love of nature, particularly trees. You can always find him climbing a tree. Although he hasn't started feeding squirrels outside the kitchen window like you used to yet, I remember you used to say, I know that one. One with nature you were. Audrey has your strength and intelligence. You had such a wide range of intelligence. She's always telling us when we're wrong, and she's usually right. Nobody's ever gonna mess with her, Irish to the core like her grandma Kelly. I have a newfound appreciation and awe for you as a mother. When we're in our teenage years and 20s, we don't really see our parents as individuals. They're mom and dad. In fact, we are embarrassed of some of the things our moms do when we were young. You would do anything for us kids. I remember the time you were on your way to pick one of us up from some after sporting school event, and you knocked over a light pole on our street, I think by the Racky's house. Probably dodging that squirrel that you knew. You kept on going because you were certainly not going to be late for pickup. You think they're still trying to figure out who knocked that down, but your secret is safe with us. If we were upset about something, or if something happened at school, whether small or big, you would say, well, I'm gonna write a letter. And we would roll our eyes and plead, no, Mom, please don't write a letter. And you would anyways. Well, I've written a few of those letters myself already as a mother. Speaking of letters, as Karen shared, we found that letter you wrote just in case when you went on a trip. I think it was the trip to Arizona to be with Linda. Dad was so thankful when you returned as he learned you can't put laundry detergent in the dishwasher or the other way around. Anyway, there were bubbles all over the house. In that previously unopened letter, you shared a few words of advice. One your father, Grandpa Leahy, shared with you. Make your mark. At first, I interpreted make your mark as meaning with achievements at work. I now realize you meant make your mark with your family, your community. Those are the real marks. And that was your mark, your family. Us 6 kids sitting here, 13 grandchildren, 13 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild now. Together to celebrate all the small things in life and to hold each other up and make each other laugh in the tough times. It's important for you to know that as much as we drive each other crazy, us 6 kids connect pretty much every single day. You created that long-lasting connection, and that's pretty special. When I reflect on you, random memories come so vividly to mind. You in your black and beige checkered apron with a spoon on it, cooking a big family dinner, sipping your glass of Chardonnay. Poster-sized signs welcoming anyone who was coming to visit, whether it was a new boyfriend we were meeting of one of the older girls or family member, making us hold them up, standing outside, or lying in the stairwells like we were the Brady Bunch, which we pretty much were, to make them feel welcome. I think, Tom, we did that for you, right? It was pretty intimidating, I'm sure. Sitting on your lap on the yellow and blue flowered chair, boy, you loved your yellow and blue, while you read your Patricia Cornwell books. You chasing us up the stairs with the navy blue and red Love Taps paddle. You never used it, but you chased us with it, and I think we were too fast. Girl Scout camping trips. You dressed as Cleopatra or whomever the figure was of the month when you were picture lady. On top of everything else you did, serving as president of the PTA, room mom, Girl Scout leader of so many different troops over the years, and heading up whatever the fundraiser was. I simply don't know how you did it all. I especially don't know how you got those Girl Scout patches to stay on the vest and sashes. They're really a pain, and I just give them to my mother-in-law to do.
I staple them.
Yeah. You with your amazing, and they were amazing, sweatshirts and cowbells at every single sporting event. Christmas decorations, the house always being decorated every single holiday from top to bottom. The warmth and excitement that would bring. Playing cards till late at night around the kitchen table, laughing so hard we cried, and we did pee our pants sometimes if you need to. Creamed eggs on toast when it was just you and me for dinner. Family trips to Michigan in the Park Avenue. Sunday pancake breakfasts every Sunday. Red Jello mishaps, whether it was forgetting to put the lid on the blender and it splattering all over the cabinets, my boyfriend at the time, Matt, just freshly painted white, or spilling the Jello right before you got it to the fridge. The best part was that you would always say a choice 3 or 4 letter word and then laugh it off. We still have these mishaps today somehow and do the same. Your laugh. Everybody knows the Char laugh, and it's very hard to replicate that laugh. Your voice picking up the phone with the same cheerful, "Hi, honey," every time, even if we had a disagreement the day before. How I long to hear that. Those might seem like the small things, but they're the small things that stick with us, that define our values and how we live, and that we pass to our children. Our house was always a full house, the house everyone would play at, the house everybody would stop to chat for your listening ear. You created such a home that anyone was welcome any holiday or any day of the week. I promise to pass that on, to always save room at the dinner table and welcome anyone. I promise every once in a while to save the dishes for later to sit around and laugh with family and friends. I promise to be kind and make my mark. I appreciate more than ever how remarkable you were, not just as a mother, but as a woman. I understand what dedication, sacrifice, and love it took to raise 6 kids and 6 strong-willed kids at that. Love you, Chris. And I just want to say a few thank yous that I think my mom would want to say today. This is where I lose it, so that's why I wrote it down. To Dad, for caring so well to keep Mom in her home for as long as possible, and for sharing so many stories about Mom over the past year to keep her here with us. I'm learning what a special love you had for each other, and I'm learning a side of Mom I never knew. To Colleen, for making sure Mom ate a good dinner and spending so much time at the nursing home, even after a long days of work and your own family at home. To Kathy, there she is, for always making sure Mom had a special sweet treat and freshly painted nails on your visits. To Cara, for making sure Mom got outside for a little adventure no matter what it took, because she had this love of nature when she could no longer do it on her own. To Kevin, for keeping Mom dancing and laughing until the end. To the grandchildren, for bringing so much joy to Grandma. You sure did see some really interesting things when you were at the nursing home in the memory care unit. And Grandma Kelly would just be really proud of the joy that you brought to all the other patients. We were like the Kardashians, we used to say, walking in there. Not quite, but it's pretty close, I think. Yeah. And finally, to my sister Karyn, who had the most challenging role of all, of being Mom's voice when she no longer had one for so long, and she would just be so proud of everything that you did. So, I love you all.
I'm Colleen. I'm the shortest one and the oldest one, and I'm the crier too, so I knew I wouldn't be able to say anything after Chrissy's speech. It's beautiful. But I have a poem to read, and it's called Your Mother is Always With You, and it's by an unknown author. Your mother is always with you. She's the whisper of the leaves as you walk down the street. She's the smell of bleach in your freshly laundered socks. She's the cool hand on your brow when you're not well. Your mother lives inside your laughter. She's crystallized in every teardrop. She's the place you came from, your first home. She's the map you follow with every step that you take. She's your first love and your first heartbreak. And nothing on earth can separate you. Not time, not space, not even death will ever separate you from your mother. You carry her inside of you.
Now all the grandchildren, even the big ones, are gonna come up and they're gonna share a song that Grandma, right, sang to us when we were kids. She would always sing, You Are My Sunshine or Silent Night, and they're going to share a song. This may take a moment.
Might be a cowboy to bring one up.
Are my sunshine, the make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
I was just going to say, would anybody else like to share a thought or a memory, a story, a song, a word that may come to mind when you just think of Char? I'd like to at least give you that opportunity and extend that invitation to you if you feel like you would like to share. I got to tell you, go ahead, please.
I'll say something.
Thank you, sir.
Said to, I think it was Karyn at one point, it was, what was the first great thing that I did in life, and still is, asking Char to marry me. Second thing, the biggest accomplishment, no, it wasn't basketball, it was that she said yes. And otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So, that's it. Great lady.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. When I came here today, I knew that I'd probably be one of the few people here never to have the opportunity, not even accidentally, to have ever met Char. I walked around the room. I looked at the photographs. I stood in the back and I watched the video, which was an accomplishment on itself, just to not put it together, but get the thing to play. And I realized, that a picture is 1,000 words we tell each other, right? And then after listening and hearing and seeing the photographs, I realized that's not true. You don't need a photograph, do you? You just need to hear her name. When you hear her name and when you say it, it's not a memory that comes to mind. It's not some story that's captured by a photograph. It's certainly not some occasion or a situation or even an event. It's a flood of all those things. When you hear her name, when you speak it. In living vivid color, you just don't remember. You actually experience those things all over again, and you just proved it. And there's no expiration date. Otherwise, January 1st would have come and we'd have said, okay, that's the end. And this is not the end either, is it? Every single one of you, distance has nothing to do with this. Every single one of you are here today because personally, intentionally, intimately, Char made sure that she wrote this magnificent sentence in the book of your life. And she made careful sure that she didn't put a period at the end of the sentence. Oh, look again. There's a big, bold, black comma. And she invited you to do this right here. Remember. Hit the rewind button. Get the photographs out. Say, remember when, or what about this time, or I can never forget this. And then just spring into all of those things that we call reminiscing that we do without thinking. And then I believe Char would have invited you to do this. After you've done that, after you've done all of those things, then you take what I started in you and you add on to that. You build onto that. You expand that. You make that larger, and then quite simply. And it was always quite simply, right? And yet simply always meant significantly. Do with the gift of my life what I first did with it. Share it. I mean, doesn't that sum her up? You know, when I read Char's obituary, I realized that sort of towards the end, we all have this little thing that we'd like to be summed up if that's at all possible, and I don't think it really is. But she had this little motto, and it was sort of exemplified, personified by all of you today. And by your very presence here, you're personifying it too. Life is to be treasured. Be kind. Make your mark. Folks, if you think about it, on the day that we're born, it doesn't matter who we are. Char certainly included. We could be a man, we could be a woman, we could be Republican, Democrat, we could be Christian, atheist, Buddhist. It doesn't matter who we are. But when we're born, all of us, 4 things are given to us. And we know these 4 things because they're too very simple. And yet they're very significant. Char too. The very first thing that Char received on her birthday was a birthday. And we celebrate that. You didn't tell me that you didn't celebrate that back in February, right? And 2022, you'll do the same thing again. Literally for the rest of your life, you're going to continue to do that. And that's just a birthday. But it continues to be celebrated and remembered in a way that's going to bring you some happiness and some peace, and Char a whole lot of honor, and certainly a lot of celebration as well. But that's not the only thing that she received on the day that she was born. She got that name too. Now it might have started out as Charlene, but it might have quickly went to Char. And then she probably was called a few other things, because we kind of all are, don't we? We sort of add those things. But we have already discussed what the power of a name means. You just have to say it. And again, in living, vivid color, you experience all of that. And that never diminishes, and it never, ever vanishes. It just continues to enlarge and expand in all of you. Now, I don't know why the third thing is a part of all of us. It's that dash. We know there's a date that we're born, and we know there's a date when we're going to die, and there's a dash, and I don't know. I don't know why some dashes are longer and some are shorter than others, and I don't think I trust anybody who tries to explain that. But I look at all of you, and I realize you are a part of that dash. And that's what makes that dash so significant and so powerful, because she wouldn't have it any other way. There is no Char without all of you. And yes, Mr. Kelly, you have something to do with that. Because when I look at this, you just said it. Look what you two started all those years ago. There's no way that if somebody would have sat down with you the day that you got married and said, Lily, take a look at this iPhone, number 1, or the iPad, and then let me show you this app, because this is who you are going to become, and this is who's going to be created because of you two. And it still goes on. That's part of what we celebrate.
Yeah.
And guess what? There's not a period to that sentence either. It is just ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. Now there's one more thing that every one of us receives on the day that we're born. It's that fingerprint, right? We've all heard about that fingerprint. No, nobody else in the whole world has that. It's that distinctive, that unique to you. Billions of people before us don't have your fingerprint. A billion that's right here, right now, doesn't have your fingerprint. A billion that'll follow us doesn't have your fingerprint. And Char really exemplified perfectly, didn't she? Nobody has the fingerprint that Char has, because nobody can make the imprint that she did. I mean, that's why you're here, right? You can't be anywhere else except at this place and at this moment. Folks, you know this. We're not here because her life was a gift. We're here because Char's life is a gift. And there is not one of you, and I'm not talking about physical DNA right now, there's not one of you who haven't received that gift. And yet, having received that gift, which one of you? Not once in a while, countless times, even now, aren't beneficiaries of that very gift of Char's life and yours. Here's what makes her life so precious and priceless. You just haven't received it. You just haven't benefited from it for the rest of your life. And then some. You're going to continue to benefit, because Char is a part of you for the rest of you and beyond. What do you do with this kind of a gift? You see, that's the best part. She showed you. She illustrated it. You do with the gift what so uniquely, generously, so lovingly was first done with the gift. You share it. You share it just like it's been shared with you. Oh, it's a magnificent dash. It includes all of you. And in that dash, lots of things have had beginnings. Many things have known endings. And some of them not so good. Some of them very painful. Thank God there's some things that never conclude. Like your memory. It could be the next time you take a look at a photograph, and for all the ones that are around this room, there's probably ones that you hadn't thought about even putting up there that could have replaced any one of them. And I don't mean it to sound mean, but I'm kind of hoping one's going to find you. Before you find it, it could fall from a book, it may slip from some envelope. And God knows we have bags, bins, drawers, albums. Our cell phones are filled with videos, and they're filled with photos. And maybe just one of them will be opened. By God, there she is. Could be the next time that you hear a particular song. Maybe you'll just sip a drink. You'll taste the food. You're going to smell a fragrance. Char's going to be right there. And as it has even today, it's going to put a smile on your face. It's going to bring a warmth to your heart. You say her name. It will do those things. And I wish this wasn't true. But you know, unfortunately, that it is. There's times you won't even see it coming. It's going to bring tears to your eyes. And folks, I'm telling you, I'm about that short of begging you to let that happen. Because there are no tears. There's no moments of sadness. There's never a sense of loss unless there's a love. Much deeper than all those things put together that even made the tears possible. So please, for Char's sake, for your sakes, for God's sake, take the things you've known, things you've admired and respected, these powerful, these precious things you've loved, you've cherished about Char. Make them a part of yourself. As much as that mark, that imprint, has been placed upon you, you make it count. And I don't think this is odd or strange or a coincidence. But right now, the very things that we hope, that we wish, that we actually pray for Char, are the very things that she devoted her entire life to hoping, to wishing, to praying for each of you, especially at this moment. And again, it's simple and yet significant. That Char's peace will now be your peace. Amen.
All right, so we're closing out here, and I think I wanted to say something about my mom's legacy, and it's been brought up many times, leaving your mark, and people leave their legacy. Their legacy is a lot of different things. It might be a fortune they leave behind for all their kids. I don't think, no millions of dollars coming our way. Okay. No family, a family business that might stay in generations, or they did something historic and they're in books and online forever. But my mom's legacy is a little bit different. And if she were to express what she wanted her legacy to be back 40 or 50, 60 years ago, I think that it would have been exactly what her legacy ended up being. Dad, if you can come up here. You used to make that move a lot quicker. Still pretty quick though.
I can still shoot.
Okay. So, Mom's legacy, and this is as much for her as this is for you. Mom's legacy is all the people in her life. Let's start with Colleen. Can you stand up? And Mike and the kids. So this is your legacy here. This is Mom's legacy. Where is Kathy? Could you stand up? Tom, JT, you gotta stand up, man. Jack. So this is Mom's legacy there, and this is your legacy. Where's Kara, Kian, Liam? That's my mom's legacy. That's your legacy too. Karen and Greg.
Big legacy.
Payton, you gotta stand up too. Yeah, Karen's really pushing this legacy thing pretty far. And her kids stand up. That's Mom's legacy. That's your legacy, Dad. Got Kristin and Matt and all the kids. Collin, you can stand up now. And that's my mom's legacy there. little Collin, and your legacy too, Dad. And anybody in here, if your life has been impacted in any way from Charlene Kelly, could you stand up?
Everybody,
That's my mom's legacy. That's your legacy. And you're open. I'm going to pass the ball to you for the final shot. And why don't you thank
Finally.
everybody?
Yeah.
I know you'll make it. Thank everybody for coming.
Yeah, I just, a lot of you have come a long ways, and we appreciate that very much. It's been great. I appreciate the things that you just
Thank you,
talked
Mr.
about
Kelly.
and so on.
It's an honor.
It was neat to see and talk to everybody. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for knowing Char. Love you.
One last thing. Can everybody do their shimmy for Char? Do your shimmy for Char. Shimmy for Char.
Good job.
Wow.
This concludes